Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Marshadow. It is time for Tag Team Power Rankings for the Volbeat Division. I'm joined by my tag team partner. Give it up for Miss Mag.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here.
And our social media extraordinaire. Give it up for Ted.
Hello, everybody. I'm not part of their team, but I am a coach of the Paldean Conquest.
Um, Tag Team, in case the name did not tell you, is a team league. That means we have two coaches for each team, and they'll each play a game every week. They each have their own separate team ish. Ted, you want to explain the format?
Sure thing. So each team has to draft a total of 13 Pokemon. Three of those are a shared Pokemon. They can bring those three to either of those matches. So if just to reduce complications, if you want to bring Goldango and your partner wants to also bring Goldango, you guys can both bring it the same week. And those three shared Pokemon are 9 points. And you must declare a stab type and one additional type during that drafting process, which currently right now, since the draft is over, it already happened. So yeah, a few
Those
basic
are
rules
your
for that.
and those are Terra types. I did not make that clear.
Yeah.
Those are Terra types. Those three shared Pokemon are the only Pokemon that you can terrestrialize. Otherwise, each coach drafted five Pokemon that only they can use, along with the three shared. So 8 Pokemon per coach, 13 per team. We're gonna go in draft order. Let's go.
Yeah.
Alright, so our first team in the draft order for the Volbeat Division was the three Mouseketeers, coached by Rolo and C-Rad. And these are their Terra captains. You have the Palafin, Zero to Hero, Terra Water, Terra Grass. You have the Pachirisu that could, the Electric and Flying Terras. And then you have Girafarig, which is the normal and the dark Terras. Does anybody want to talk about this team? Things they like, things they don't like? Anything kind of stand out to you? Take it away.
Mhm.
Well, Palafin stands out to me. Just Palafin. Um, hmm. hmm, Um, and I think this team definitely has a lot of good pieces. I don't think this is definitely not the worst. I would be very surprised if this is the worst team in the draft. I don't think it's the best team in the draft. I think it's a very solid team overall. I think it has a lot of good pieces. I just, I just think they might struggle in team building and getting everything that they would want into their team. I don't know if they have the all the synergies that you would want. I don't know how well this team is going to support Palafin. Pachirisu will definitely work with that, but I don't think any of the individual mons really work to support Palafin. I feel like they're all do their own thing, so I do think that could definitely be a problem for these coaches.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that, I think especially like on the Minun side, like excluding Girafarig, they have two Trick Room users, and the only Pokemon on the Minun side that's able to utilize Trick Room is that Camerupt.
And
I mean,
Mimikyu.
yeah, you can make a case for Mimikyu, but it's still pretty fast. Um, but yeah, that's one of the things that I don't like. I probably wish there was another slower Pokemon outside of the Camerupt. I mean, I guess you can bring like the Girafarig in some cases, but I don't know how reliable that's going to be.
Yeah, I like the Plusle team a lot more. I do think it does lack some bulk that the Mayan team does have.
Well, I have to kind of agree with both of you guys. I think this is probably we don't have any like I would say like real formal rankings coming at the end, but if I had to, I'd say this is pretty squarely in the middle. Like I'd rank this maybe like around number 4. The team has a very good deal amount of offense. It has a good deal amount of defensive tools. Appleton is actually quite bulky on the Plusle side, and on the Minun side there is a little less bulk, but Camerupt is somewhat bulky, and Mimikyu can actually be quite a pain to remove with Disguise and
And
its sort of natural bulk as well. Um,
and Pachirisu with Follow Me.
Yes, and the redirection works well to set up a lot of the modes for this team. But I will agree that it doesn't seem like a team that is centered around Palafin, which is interesting because that was this team. This was these coaches' first pick was actually the Palafin. Usually you see some rain mode, like even a prankster weather setter would have been, I think, pretty cool. But
Yeah.
Pachirisu on its own does support Palafin
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
well.
when we were discussing team building, one of the Pokemon I threw out for our first pick was Grimmsnarl. We ended up not going with it. But yeah, what you said, Prankster, definitely a very good first pick. Falcon is a good first pick, but you do kind of need to build around it, and I don't think this team does that very well.
All right. Well, we'll see how they do. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next team?
I mean, I guess like one point to point out is that like they could technically run screens with the Gardevoir or the Giraffe Rig if they so choose. So that's something, I guess, for being a fast Pokemon like Gardevoir. But yeah, I think like Prankster screens would be really nice for this team, especially next to the Palafin.
All right. Let's move on to the second team in the draft order, the East New York Middle School of Excellence, coached by Loud and Bishmi. And
I think this team holds the record for the longest team name in TGR history. But
well, let's just say they are very proud of their team name. I'll put it that way. But introducing their Terra captains, we have Dragonite, Terra Flying, Terra Normal. We have Lucario, Terra Steel, Terra Fairy, and we have Quillfish, Terra Water, Terra Grass. Which one of you wants to start?
Um, so going to the postal side, I really like that the combination of Grimmsnarl and the Rotom Heat. Obviously, Rotom Heat is still pretty defensive without the screens. But paired next to the Grimmsnarl, I think those two together are going to do a good amount of supported damage. Obviously, Grimmsnarl next to Dragonite is also another strong combo. Without running multi-scale, like Dragonite under screens is going to be really tough to take down. I really like the Serena, stops priority moves from Prankster, fake out, stuff like that. Doug Trio, pretty decent fast ground type. Disquake option with the Rotom Heat. And then Dunsparce is there to do its thing. So overall, I really like the plus side.
So I think the Terra captains here are all really good. They're all very versatile. I mean, Dragonite is Dragonite. I don't think I need to introduce you to Terra Normal Extreme Speed Dragonite. Lucario, I really like, especially Terra Fairy. You can go beat up into that. Resist with Justified or just normal with its fighting typing. Either way, you can go ahead and do that. That can definitely be a threat. Or you could run more defensively if you want. I think it does get Wide Guard and Fake Out.
No, it doesn't get either of those actually.
Damn. You'd think it would. And Quillfish, Intimidated is always good. I like what Quillfish offers, a nice, good defensive Pokemon. Can deal some damage if you really needed to. I think you nailed the Plusle side. I think it's really good. Like you said, the Mine Inside. Palmot. That's its name. Yes. Don't worry, I'll be forgetting the new Pokemon names for the next couple of years. Don't worry. Palmot Revival Blessing, really strong, just offensively, and it does get Revival Blessing if you want that. Amoonguss, the bane of any VGC player's existence, I think I can be pretty confident in saying that. Donphan, I'm not the biggest fan of, neither is Ditto. Houndoom, I think, can do some damage if you can set it up. I think the problem with this one is just going to be getting it in and just letting it do its thing. I think that's going to be the biggest problem. But if you can do that, then I think it can definitely put in some work.
All right. Well, I definitely have to agree with both of you. I think the plusal side of this draft is the I think it's the more synergistic of the two based on both the captains and the individual picks. Like there's a lot of modes over there on Bloud's side of the draft. And it's interesting because the Rotom Heat, which we've harped on about, was actually a pickup in Grace. Another coach dropped it. It used to be Rotom Wash, and I think the Heat pick kind of solidifies this team a lot better because you get that fairy resist that a lot of your captains are either weak to, or Grimstar are weak to it, or just don't like being around a lot of fairy mons. But you got the Disquake mode, you have beat up rattled with Dunsparce, which still gets Hyper Drill, BT dubs. Serena's just a great kind of glue piece to stop priority,
Wait,
but
is
like
that Dunsparce or the Dunsparce?
no,
Dunsparce.
it's regular
Duns-
Dunsparce, but it still gets the signature move Hyper Drill, which breaks through
It's the
protects.
OG.
Yeah. So no, it's a really good side over there. Um, Bishop picked up some interesting mons. I do think Amoonguss, Donphan, and Pawmont are all actually pretty strong in their own regard. Um, I am a little mystified by the Ditto pick, but I think it's a really fun pick, and I would be really curious to see how it works in this format. Just being able to freely copy an opposing mon. Bear in mind, since it's not a Terra captain, it won't ever really be able to Terra. Actually, that would have been interesting to see it if it wasn't a Terra captain spot. But overall, I would have probably liked the I probably would have liked Bishop's side a little bit more if there was just if they maybe like you had an electric type like a Rotom form just to have a little bit of a soft Disquake mode because
Palmot.
there's not well no but Palmot gets hit by Earthquake. If you had like a Rotom form, at least you can kind of do a little cheap Disquake with the Donphan. But it's a lot of physical strength over there. So
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You could spam Earthquake next to Dragonite. But yeah, nothing else you could really do that with. Or you could try and get some Ditto stuff, but that relies on your opponent bringing a flying or levitate Pokemon.
I
So
think
yeah, I agree with you on that one.
one thing to know is that they could have gone like the Terra Captain Palmite route, like with Terra Electric, and just spam Double Shock, which is a really strong Electric Strike move, which is new to this generation. I think that would be a slightly better Terra Captain, but I think Dragonite is probably better. But that's something to
That might
consider
have
as
been a
well.
fun thing. I mean, I don't think you could get Dragonite and Palmot.
nah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
can't
can't.
get them both. But I agree with you. I think with this team that would have been very interesting. But they definitely went more of the we're gonna hit you hard and fast route. So let's see how they do.
The next team is the Tapu Brolo. This is Masenko and Matrix's team.
Ted, why don't you start it off?
They're Terra Captains.
Let's see.
Terra
Uh,
Captains?
yeah,
Oh,
you can go.
who's going? Are you going or am I?
You can say
Okay.
the captains.
Terra Captains are Grafaiai, Terra Poison, and Flying, Slacking, Terra Normal and Fairy, and Charizard, Terra Fire and Ground. I'm just gonna go out and say I really like that Terra Ground Charizard. It gives it a lot of coverage. With the ground typing is something that can definitely use both offensively and defensively to turn that quad weakness of Rock into a resistance. I really like that. I think all the Terra captains were picked quite well. All the Terra types were picked quite well for the captains. I don't really see Grafaiai ever being Terra'd. I think that's just there so both coaches have access to it. So, Ted, take it away so I don't reveal what my plan is because this is my week one opponent.
Yeah, going off of the Terra Captains, I really like the Terra Fairy on Slacking. I think it's probably one of the more common types to run on the Slacking, which I have run before in a previous Gen 9 Draft League. I think it's really strong. Obviously paired up with a Prankster Doodle, being able to get rid of Traunt is really great.
So that's what that does.
Yeah. Um, Going off of both sides, I think both Plus or sides are pretty balanced. Obviously, the Indeedee female, good redirector, has Follow Me, has Trick Room, has a lot of good utility moves that can help out with the slacking and the Grafai. Although you can't really run both Grafai and Indeedee female on the same side because of psychic terrain, but um, overall, I really like that pick. Gudra is a good, special wall. Can be a decent physical wall as well if you put enough EVs into that. The Florges is also another good wall, another great support Pokemon. Sandaconda is a pretty interesting mon. I haven't seen it done too well in the draft scene, but I'm interested to see how it plays
You
on
just
this
haven't
game.
seen DD.
What? And the Lumineon with Storm Drain, I think can be a good use for this team as well.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
Oh no, I finished with what I
Oh,
wanted to say.
sorry. Go ahead, Miss Mag.
well, this is also my week one opponent, so I won't give away too much. But I will say that of the teams that were drafted in this division, this is definitely one of my favorites. I think it has the most budget-friendly captains that out of all the drafts. Like each one of these captains was picked from the middle tier at 3 points apiece, and they can all do very different things. Like Slacking's a friggin' monster on its own, but like Zard with the Prankster Sunny Day from Grafia is really nothing to sneeze at either. And then I feel like that the coaches Matrix and Masenko both augmented the three captains with some really good defensive and offensive synergies. They both picked a redirector. They both picked a sort of a high damage sort of mitigation threat, whereas they each have an offensive mode as well, and they also have something for Trick Room. So it's like they kind of check off all the boxes. Regarding the comment about Grafia not ever being Terran, I will only remind you that Grafia also has Unburden as its secondary ability, and that works very nicely with Indeedee's Psychic Terrain. So keep that in mind.
The problem I do see this team having is that they don't have a lot of spread moves. A lot of their Pokemon do a lot of really good single target damage, but I'm not seeing a lot of spread moves here. So that could be a problem that they run into.
That will definitely be something interesting to take into account as we head into week number 1. Oh, and also
Totally not an advantage.
No, not an advantage at all. And also for the Plusle side, I do like the Sandaconda and the Lumineon pick. Spoilers, they were actually a part of my draft originally, but I found some better alternatives, so I'm glad that they were able to find a good home. You guys ready for the next team?
Yeah.
Only if you are.
All right, let's do it. East Coast Excadrills in the house.
So we have the Torkoal with base type Fire, with a Terra type of Grass, Darkspawn with the Terra Fairy, and alternative of Terra Steel. We have Colossal with Terra Rock, and also with Terra Grass.
So, I mean, both of these teams do have a Sun Pokemon, a Chlorophyll Pokemon, with the Pepper Pokemon on the mine inside. And Lilligant, I think, gets Chlorophyll.
Correct.
I like Masquerain here. I think it's really nice. It does get Intimidate, which is going to be very helpful for this team. It's not the bulkiest, aside from its Terra Captains. And it can do some damage. On the Plusle side, I do think might... sorry, not the Mayan side, I do think might suffer from just a lack of damage. All three Terra Captains are mostly defensive. I've used Darkspawn before. It does not do damage. No matter how much you try, it will not do any. Obviously, Rage Fist is going to do a lot of damage. And Sneasel is going to do a lot of damage, but I do think they might just suffer from being out-damaged. The Plusle side, that's not going to happen. 4 of its 5 Pokemon can be very offensive, and the last one is for the giraffe, and I don't know what that does. So go ahead and enlighten me.
Ted?
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. I think the Darkspawn can do things, but from personal experience, yeah, I don't really see it doing too much. It can't do the damage that you want it to do. However,
No,
if
I
you,
didn't say it wasn't good or wasn't helpful. I said it
Mhm.
didn't do damage.
Yeah, but yeah, going off of that, like I know Torkoal is really slow, but if you can get off a lava plume next to the Darkspawn and boost its defense with its ability, Woke Peak Body, and just spam body press, I think that could do a decent amount. But that's only if you can get the lava plume off and you don't die to an earthquake or another ground move. Um, the Bustle Slide is really interesting. I like the Masquerada. Obviously, Flower Trick is a really strong stab. Chris every time can bypass boosts with that. Uh,
And
the
more importantly, it can bypass Intimidate.
Yeah, the Farigiraf, I believe that's how you say it. Um, with Armor Tail blocks priority. Tail, not Tail, sorry, Taunt, Prankster moves, all of those sorts. Um, can be pretty bulky as well. Um, has a lot of unique moves, a good move pool as well. Lilligant, obviously, Chlorophyll after you with the Torkoal, really strong mode. Sleep Powder, Quiver Dances, stuff like that. Masquerade, good Intimidate support. Um, gives Tailwind on the plusle side as well, so little something with that. And then Pikachu is Pikachu. You can run Eviolite, Light Ball, whatever you choose. With
Yeah.
that, has Fake
I don't think
Out.
I've ever seen anybody write a Violite Pikachu.
I
It's an
have.
option.
I actually have. It's actually surprisingly bulky when you give it an EVLate.
Yeah, it's an option. I think it can do things. So, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a good team. It does have flaws. I don't, and I think it can definitely cover for those flaws. I really like this team. I think it's definitely one of the better ones in the draft.
I gotta say, I look at this team, I feel like I'm at like a summertime cookout. Like, there's just sun everywhere, there's water everywhere, there's grass everywhere. But I will say, as far as a team that is built with these three Terracoptans in mind, I don't really think it gets too much better than this.
Miss Mag Family Picnic.
So, I mean, perhaps. But I really actually like the mine inside of the draft. There is a lot of very dangerous setup potential over there with beat up
I
on
prefer
two
the Pixel
mons.
side.
Well, well, hear me out. There's beat up on two mons, which sends Annihilate's Rage Fist into the 200 base power category very quickly, which means it'll probably be one-shotting most things that don't resist ghost moves. So that's probably my favorite part about that side of the draft. Scovillain also gets moody, so like it's very likely that they can just set up a substitute or a protect and just farm free stat boosts and stat drops every turn. Uh, Doc's Bun is okay. I actually have used it in a previous draft. I feel like it would be a little bit better suited to doing, I guess, as you so put it, like body press damage if their Lava Plume Mon was not Torkoal, because Torkoal is very slow. But I mean, it still works. They have coal mode procs on both sides of the aisle with with their water mons or with Masquerade. Yeah, it's a really nicely well built sunroom team, because they have trick room options on both sides. I really like this team. It's just a fun looking team. Like, I look at this matchup and I'm like, I'm just gonna have a good time. I don't know what in the world's gonna happen, but I'm gonna have fun.
Hey, I mean that's what drafting is all about, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's a very combo heavy team. I guess that's probably the best way I would describe that. And I think that has a lot of benefits, but I also think it does have some flaws, because if your opponents can break your various combos, then you are kind of left up the creek without a paddle, as they say. Shall we move on to the next team, gents?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we have the Severn Crossing Cramorants. I am so sorry if I butchered that name. Who wants to do the captains?
Sure, I can do it. We got a hydro-friendly Volcarona that can also be a fire type. Normal Fairy, Hisuian Zoroark, and Water Grass Golduck. That's its name, Golduck. I don't know what to say. I can't think of a single thing to say about this team.
All right, well, we can take it over to Ted, and then we can come back to you when
Mhm.
you've gathered your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the more interesting things. I think if I were to rank this team, I think it'll probably be one of the higher end teams. I really like the Volcarona and these Syrian Zoroark captains. Um, Mainly the Zoroark because with the illusion ability, like you can on either side, like if you lead Zoroark and then you have let's say like the Espathra or the King Gambit in the back, it would obviously, be one of them, and you can just, instantly threaten the opposing side into thinking that you're probably a Spathra or the King Gambit, which I
I
think is
feel
pretty
like if
useful
you're
for that.
leading King Gambit and you have Hisuian Zoroark, I would be pretty confident in saying that's a Hisuian Zoroark because nobody in their right mind would lead with King Gambit.
Yeah, but I think it's useful in that way to having a little bit of mind games going into matches. Um, But switching to the Plusle side, I like Dragapult. Um, Pretty versatile Pokemon. Can be special, can be physical, can be supportive. With screens, Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that. Um, Although Dragon Darts, I don't think it's that useful as it was last generation, but it's still a pretty good move. Um, Specs Dracometer does a lot of damage. Um, so that's something that you always have to consider. Crocodile, obviously good intimidate support Pokemon. Hits hard with the Earthquake, um, and hits hard with the Dark Steps as well. Volleybolt, I've seen a little bit of rise currently in the draft community. I personally haven't used it, so I'm not sure what it does exactly, but
It's a
Electrum,
really strong, really fat, really slow special electric type.
yeah,
There's no
uh, elect-
coverage.
Electromorphosis, I believe that's how you
Yes.
say it.
Electromorphosis.
Yeah, uh, it's a really interesting ability. I like what it does. We'll just have to see what it what it can
So
do.
when you get hit with a move, you will get the effect of charge. So your next electric move will be boosted.
Yeah. Um.
Or you can go with static, which just luck your way into a win.
Mhm.
I've
Um.
done that in my playthrough a couple of times because I got a static belly bolt.
Rivaroom. Another decent, good support Pokemon. Parting Shot, Haze. Can run Shift Gear. Can run What's that move that lowers its speed? Um.
Spin out.
Weapon. Yeah, Spin Out. So it can be a fast Pokemon. Can be a good trigger option as well. So I like it for that. And Go-Goat is the goat. That's all I have to say.
Where is the goat?
Mr. Marshadow,
In
have you gathered your thoughts?
um
Because if not, I will
my
happily jump in and you can take it away at the
my
end.
thoughts are that I'm not ready to face this team because I have no idea how to prep against it because I have no idea what it does.
Well, maybe I could shed some light. So, I like this team. I also agree it's one of the higher ranked teams on the bracket. I think the thing is this team doesn't necessarily do any. I don't think it does any like really obvious strategy like we just saw with the East Coast Extra drills. But this team just actually has a pound of offense, and a lot of it is very fast. Holt is extremely versatile in what it can do, despite not being in Dynamax era. And I'm sorry to inform you of this, Ted, but Dragon Darts is still pretty broken. Don't believe the hype. It's still good. Just being able to sidestep redirection and protects is just gonna probably keep it being a pretty busted move. Um, so yeah, Dragonfall's still pretty good. I actually think leading with King Gambit is perfectly fine if your opponents are packing Intimidate, because that pretty much forces them to never lead Intimidate if they don't want to give your King Gambit a free +2. But I like the setup potential that this team has. Like, they have a really strong redirector in Volcarona. They have the Bluff Mon Incarnate with the Zoroark. And then, like, on the individual side, a lot of these Mons can set up. King Gambit gets Swords Dance. Espathra can boost with Calm Mind. I'm sure Leafeon gets Swords Dance. And then
I think it does.
yeah, it's like there's just like a lot of, like, you get Bulk Up on Go-Goat, Dragon Dance on Pult. Like, this team can just do a lot.
Oh,
And
it
then
was the Lycanroc, I think.
yeah, no, the Lycanroc has no guard Stone Edge, which is already like a pain. So it's like this team is like very offensively, I think, covered. Like, it can hit on both sides of the spectrum. It can hit pretty hard, and then you just have like good stuff Mons in the low tiers, like Golduck to like help with weather, or like Forever Room that can help deal with people who set up and use boosts, like Dozo players. But we'll get to that in just a moment.
Wait till the end, folks.
Any final thoughts about the Severn Crossing Cramorants?
I'm
No,
done looking at this team. Goodbye.
Alright. Next up is the Munich Mousehold, which happens to be my team and Mr. Marshadow's team.
I wonder what this team can do.
Why don't you start, Mr.
So,
Marshadow?
our Terra Captains are Mascot Pick Mousehold. We had to. It was a good Pokemon and a mascot pick. How do you pass that up? Was Terra Normal and Terra Ghost. Tinkaton was Terra Steel and Terra Water. And the Haunter was Terra Poison and Terra Dark. So let me give you our conversation for our draft. Like, hey, you want to draft Mousehold? Sure. Terra types. What Terra type? Because we had to have normal, we had to have a stab type. What Terra type? Ghost. Cool. That was the extent of our conversation on Mousehold.
I mean, it's a pretty good mod. It doesn't really need much explanation, whether it's a captain or an individual pick.
Tinkaton we thought was a really good Pokemon to piggyback off of it, or mouse back off of it. It's a very strong Pokemon that can definitely use the support of whether it's Charm or Helping Hand, Follow Me, and then Haunter we definitely wanted a Ghost type, and we wanted a Pokemon, and the reason for Terra Dark is to play mind games with our opponent, and that's all.
Well, I'll let Ted take it away from here before we can kind of split ourselves in talking about our parts of the draft.
Yeah, I think this team is probably one of the more sneakily, like, it's like one of those dark horse teams, pun intended. But I really like the mining side. I think Salamence is pretty good this generation. Obviously, it's not the same as its new generation counterpart, Roaring Moon, which is entirely different. But I think Salamence is pretty good. Provides Tailwind, as most flying types do this generation. If you're able to knock out another Pokemon at low health, you can run Moxie and gain that +1 attack and just sweep from there. I think
Doesn't it intimidate?
Yeah, but I think Moxie is probably a really good sweeping potential. If you don't want to run Intimidate. I really like the horse. Stamina with Body Press is really good as always. Hits like a truck, really bulky. With the Assault Vest as well, so it's generally really annoying mon to take down. Electros, probably one of the more unique Pokemon. Electric type with Levitate has no weaknesses. So that's really good. Especially on the mining side. I think that's really key here. Bruxish, same sort of ability, similar to the Serena, with Dazzling. Stops priority. Pranks or taunt, stuff like that. But also provides Trick Room on this team as well, if they so choose. And then Pyroar, I think it's a really underrated tier 1 point tier Pokemon. Has a high speed, has a really strong special attack. The move pool is not great, but I think it can still hit pretty hard, with Hyper Voice, Flamethrower, Overheat, Solar Beam in the Sun. Generally good attacks.
All right. Well, I will briefly explain my side of the draft. So I am the mining coach on this team, so my draft is on the left, as Ted just described. It looked very different immediately after the draft ended. I had 4 Mons that were not the Electros in the middle there, and when the Salamence ended up its way back into the draft pool, I was like, well, I would really prefer to use this as my tier 5 or my 5 point pick. I had Hatterene there before with a whole bunch of different mons, but I didn't just really vibe with Hatterene. I've never used Salamence before, despite having played this game since Gen 3, so I'm excited to tear it up in draft. I think my side has a nice balance of speed tiers, and they're all really good complements with the captains because our captains are really good at supporting other mons. They don't necessarily need to do damage themselves, so really good bulky setup threats can be very valuable next to Friend Guard, Mousehold, and Tinkaton just kind of doing what it does. But yeah, Mr. Marshadow, talk about your side of the draft.
You. I thought Ted was. Okay, I'm explaining my side. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I saw this team, and I did want to go for a more of a Trick Room route with this team. So I looked through tier 5s, I was looking, okay, a strong, slow, Trick Room Pokemon, and the first thing that caught my eye was Hariyama, a Pokemon I've never used before, but I'm definitely excited to do so. Very strong, very fat, should be a fun time. Then I saw Noivern in 4 points, and I was like, I really want to use Noivern. I've used it before, but never in VDC. Never want to do Boom Burst stuff since we have a Ghost type in Haunter. We have a Terra Ghost. And I can grab a Telepathy Pokemon, so I wanted to use Noivern. So I grabbed a Telepathy Mon with it, with Rapska, which also has some good support. I don't think I'll use Revival Blessing too much, but I have the option. So Bramblegast was talked into me by my good partner, Miss Mag. I was originally going to draft Leafeon, but I was talked into drafting Bramblegast, and you know what? I think I preferred. I have a lot of offense already. I don't think I need Leafeon. I think Bramblegast will be helpful. And then finally, Quagsire. It's just the best 1 point I found. It's a nice defensive water type, and Unaware should be helpful to shore up my defenses.
Ted, you got any thoughts on his side of the draft?
No, I think Marshadow covered everything that I would normally say about a Trick Room team.
Sounds good to me. I would agree that I think as sort of an overall wrap up point, I'd say this is definitely a team in the sort of the dark horse area, maybe in the 3 to 5 range. I don't think it's not the worst team in the draft, and I don't think it is. It looks like one of the best teams on the outside. Many people have actually told me they were more fond of my team before I made Grace trades, but I like what I have. I think it fits my playstyle, and comfort do be king. So And Mr. Marshadow over here has self-proclaimed that he does not make trades, so that means all the trades are mine. Haha. Alright, let's move on to our second to last team, which are the Mario and Luigi Bros.
If we didn't get the licensing right to call our coaches Mario and Luigi, but
who would like to start?
I guess I can go. So their Terra captains are Azumarill with Water and Ground, my partner Miss Magius with Ghost and Dark, and Gothita.
Gothita.
With Psychic and Steel. In my last draft, which was singles draft, I had Miss Magius as a Terra captain. A free Terra captain could tear into whatever it wanted. Usually ended up tearing it into a ghost type. The only other type I've ever teared it into was Dark. Why? Because it resists Ghost and Dark. It's all mind games. So I do like that pick. Azumarill, Belly Drum, really strong. Terra Water, only gonna boost that. I like that. And then Terra Ground, I guess you might choose every so often. For coverage with Terra Blast, I guess. And then Gothita can definitely be annoying. I think if you get Trick Room, you can set up with Calm Mind. I like it as a low tier Pokemon. Not my favorite, but it's not bad.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think this is probably one of the more balanced teams in the draft. Going off to the minus side, I really like the Disquake combo with Garchomp and Mo. As usual, Disquake is probably one of the more popular modes.
There's also Levitate Miss Magius.
Mm-hmm. The guard dog Pokemon, the Mabastiff, sorry.
Have you played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? And if so, have you forgotten this thing's name?
Listen, I can't keep track of all the new Pokemon. Sometimes I have to search them up. Mabastiff, I haven't seen it done particularly well so far in draft.
That's Intimidate.
Yeah. Intimidate is good. Guard Dog is also an interesting ability to stop Intimidate, but I'm interested to see how well it does on this team particularly. That's all I have to say about the dog. Toxicroak obviously provides fake out support. They do have Gothita already for a shared Pokemon, but I think Toxicroak is a pretty good fake out Pokemon. It can be offensive, with bulk up, sucker punch, drain punch, all the elemental punches, I believe.
Maybe. I can check. Do you want me to?
I think. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that, but I'm pretty sure it gets all those. But yeah, overall, I really like the Toxicroak on this team. Fortress, another interesting pick. Pretty good defensive Pokemon. Pretty same typing as Scizor. A lot more bulkier than Scizor defensively. Also, but it still gets shredded by fire types as usual. Sturdy is a pretty good ability. Gyro Ball hits hard. So yeah. Overall, minus side really interesting. I like it.
All right, well, I guess that means it's my turn. But before I start, I think a round of thank yous and applauses in order because the Plusle coach on this team, Ronan Sting, actually was the one who traded away three Pokemon, which kind of started a really good chain reaction over there in the Grace trades. It was him that had the Salamence that I have on my team, the Rotom Heat that is on Bloud's team. So we got to give it up to him because I think he made a lot of teams better, and even after that, those trades were made, more people picked up what was left. So it was a very funny reaction to make. In exchange, he actually got a pretty nice little Indeedee Armor Rouge mode, which would have otherwise been impossible because the and DD female is actually worth the same amount as armorers, and you can't pick two Vons from the same point tier. So unless one of them's a captain. So actually, I think he kind of got the best of that bargain. So we will have to deal with Psy Spam. I really like his
Or I
Abominable
will
pick.
have to deal with Psy Spam. You don't, Miss Mag.
Well, if we make playoffs, then I definitely will. So, but
I hope for me, don't you?
well, yes, but back to his 1 point pick. I actually really like the Abominable. I think it's a really solid and underrated Trick Room mon. It is really powerful. It hits like a truck, and it also gets some pretty good support moves. It's like really solid value for 1 point. Over to the Minun side of the draft, I like the Disquake mode. I will agree with Ted on that one. Mabostif can do some good work. I think it would be a little bit more beneficial with Terra, just because I think it can have a little bit better offensive potential when like fighting and fairy moves are not just staring it down in the face, and nothing really resists those combination of moves outside of like maybe like two of the captains and like the fortress. So yeah, that's like I think I'm a bigger fan. I think overall of the fossil side. Just I think it's a really strong like offense and leans very heavily into Trick Room, whereas the Minun side leans very much into like Disquake and the fast mode. But of course, the biggest elephant in the room is this is a very good-looking Perish Trap team with those three captains, man.
I thought the biggest elephant in the room was the elephant.
Well, yes, the Kaparaja, but the biggest elephant in the room is that this is a really strong Perish Trap team, and I didn't even realize this when they drafted all three of these captains. That I tend to forget that Azumarill gets Perish Song. So I like the fact that they kind of have a mode within the three captains that they can literally all viably come to the same game, and then they can kind of just pick whatever individual mons they want to kind of supplement that. So, really well done by Ronin, Sting, and Spooks. I think this is honestly one of the strongest teams we have, despite some very glaring weaknesses.
Okay, our last team is the Paldean Conquest.
So we have Goldango with the Terra Steel and Terra Water, Zoroark with Terra Dark and the Terra Poison, and we have Heracross with Terra Fighting and Terra Rock. Without trying to reveal too much about the team, going into draft, especially on my side, knowing that we were the wheel pick, I wanted to try Dondozo out again, especially if you guys haven't been keeping up with VDL. I'd done really well with Dondozo, so I wanted to see how well it would work in this format. So obviously I picked up Dondozo and Tatsugiri. Now a lot of people were questioning of whether or not if I should make it a Terra Captain. But I think even though it's significantly worse without a Terra type, I think it's pretty good without it. I can work with that, and obviously with the commander ability giving it +2 in each stat, I think it's still going to hit pretty hard with its diverse move pool. Staraptor, obviously provides that tailwind support, gets a variety of other moves that I won't say about. So yeah, and then the final two picks, I wanted to use Persian again, but that went before I could pick it. So I think Wigglytuff with two good abilities in Frisk and Competitive are really good in this format. Frisk reveals the items.
I'm going to rely on the RNG.
Yeah. Frisk, reveals the items of the other side. Competitive is to deter away Intimidate. Other sorts of stat reducing moves like Snarl. And then the Clodsire basically to just take away another haste Pokemon that can threaten the Dondozo, sorry. So, a lot of haze, especially on my side. There's very limited haze, but it was picked, so I'm glad I picked up the Clodsire to limit the amount of haze Pokemon that can counter me. For the minus side, I'm not sure about what Dunn is doing because he didn't really explain his strat on that side, but I can pretty much see what he's trying to do, but I won't say too much about that.
I think you summed up your side of the draft pretty well. People also just underrate Dondozo as a Pokemon by itself. Even without Commander, it has a lot of power. It can do a lot of stuff. I think people underrate it as a Pokemon without the stat boosts. For the Minun side, Gyarados, it has Intimidate, it has Moxie, it's very strong, it can do some damage. It would have been nice to see it as a Terra Captain to get Terra Flying Terra Blast if you wanted that, but not an option anymore. Another flying type in the very supportive Murkrow. Right? Murkrow? Yes.
Yeah.
Murkrow.
Which it will offer a lot of stuff. Thunder Wave, I think, will be very nice for this team, which is not slow, but it also doesn't have any like super high speed threats other than the Zoroark. So I think Thunder Wave will definitely be very useful. Hippowdon I'm a bit unsure of. I mean, I guess you could spam Earthquake next to your flying types, but I don't really see what it does. Grumpig is a Pokemon that exists.
That it does.
Glaceon, I like it, offers some nice support. Freeze Dry can be powerful. Wish, Protect, if you want that. I think overall it's a pretty solid team. Just confused about the Hippowdon.
Alright, I guess that brings it to me to wrap it up. I mean, I'll just keep it straight. I don't know what kind of spice over there Dun's cooking up on his side of the draft because I don't understand half those picks. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not even gonna try to sugarcoat like I understand. Like I see.
He said he was cooking.
I see
That's
some like
what he told me.
I see some like really wigged out combos, but if they're actually what he has in mind, then I just gotta say the man is a brilliant coach. That being said, I do actually really like the Gyarados pick. I was waffling on it myself for my tier 1 between Solomon. Well, Solomon wasn't originally on the table, but originally I was thinking between Gyarados and Hydreigon. Hydreigon actually went literally the same round before it got to me, so right before this got down to you, I was debating if I wanted Gyarados for my team. I actually think it works out better here. I like the fact that it gives Dun some like really immediate offensive pressure and defensive pressure because Gyarados under Tailwind with Moxie is pretty honestly disgusting. Hippo is cool. I just assumed he picked it up just to like have a pseudo weather check, and just to. It's a very obnoxiously bulky ground type with with recovery options. I really like it.
And Whirlwind, if you want that.
Yeah, right. And Whirlwind, Yawn. I actually really like Hippo this gen. Like a huge fan of it. Murkrow's Murkrow. We've seen Murkrow go Dango in regular VGC. That's old news. Grumpy's a nice 1-point pick. I think it's got a lot of utility, can hit fairly hard, and I see a certain strategy which I will also not give up because I like you guys. I won't give that one up. I see a few strategies with that Grumpy that maybe people would have to be watching out for. Glaceon's an interesting pick to kind of round it off. I'd be curious to know what his thoughts were on that one because usually when you draft Goldango, I feel like you want to try to reduce the amount of weaknesses that you have shared with it. And I'm not personally seeing anything that Glaceon is adding to this team that maybe a different Pokemon in that tier would. So yeah, I like your captains. I know that Goldango plus Murkrow is pretty strong, and then when you think about just Goldango on its own, honestly, can be quite obnoxious to deal with. Zoroark is pretty nice for bluffing. If you think you're up against Murkrow Goldango and it's Murkrow Zoroark, you're probably going to get screwed trying to go for fighting moves or not fighting moves like ghost moves or anything crazy like that. As for your side of the draft, Mr. Dondozo, I think you filled it out nicely. Obviously you were obligated to pick your combo. I think Staraptor kind of rounds out having both support for the Goldango in terms of the type chart and also offering Tailwind since you could not draft Murkrow. And then your low tier picks in Wigglytuff and Claude, like, they're there, they're damage sponges, they do stuff, they have pretty good useful abilities. Pretty mean of you to take Haze and Unaware off the board, but you can go ahead. That's fine. That is fine. No
Hey,
one saw
I
it
have
before
Haze
you.
and Unaware.
Well,
I have Haze and Unaware.
well, yes, you have that. But I just thought it was funny that he did actually pick one of the other better Dondozo checks off the counter as his last mon, which may suit him well in playoffs if he has to face Dozos from the other division. But overall, I'd say this is also kind of a dark horse team. Like, there's good pieces here, but it really will come down to like play, prep, and some of
Well,
the synergies for sure.
Hey, Ted, you mind throwing our match?
We'll see what happens. That's all I can say.
All right. With that, that concludes all 8 teams. We want to give you guys the traditional TGR sign off with the GLHF. Good luck, have fun. May the best tag team win. I think it's going to be a great season. I am super excited to try out this format. And yeah, do you guys have any last words?
Before we leave, first of all, thank you so much for Brave for making these graphics. He's awesome. He's the best.
And he's doing
Like you
this
said,
without
Gogurt was a
payment.
goat.
He's doing this without payment, so be grateful.
Yes. Earlier we said Gogurt was a goat. We were wrong. Brave is a goat. Gogurt is like the commemorative goat.
Yes, we do all love Brave VGC. Go give him a follow on YouTube. He makes great graphics. Come join our community.
Yeah, join the Discord if you want to like keep up with the league. Some people are going to be uploading. They'll post their videos in the Discord if you want to do that.
Link down below.
And thanks for listening. Illumise Division will come out at some point whenever Patnak gets around to finding people and recording it.
Alright, sounds good to me. So, we'll see you guys on the battlefield.
Good luck, everybody.